Evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Robotics Live. I'm Nick Rishwain. I'm your host, and this is episode 4 of Robotics Live, which, for those who haven't listened before or watched before, is a lot more than just robotics. It is artificial intelligence, machine learning. We're going to learn about a new subject today called machine intelligence, deep learning. It's a wide variety of items that affect robotics. Robotics has been the terminology that is easiest to use when promoting the show. For those who are unfamiliar with what I do, I've got two different shows, two different live video shows, one on legal tech and this one. And with me tonight is Steve Ardire. And Steve has worked with 40 startups over the past 20 years, and I love this, to shape serendipity by interrogating reality to connect and illuminate the dots that matter. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Nick, and for that wonderful, tight, cogent introduction.
My pleasure. I got it from really great source. And would you please illuminate us on exactly what that means, and maybe a little bit more about your background and how you got involved in this field?
Sure. So I'll do the background first, and then I'll cap it off with my personal branding and mantra. So actually, I'm a geologist by training, and that was my first career, mostly in oil and gas services. And interestingly enough, in the field of geology, a very tangible science, it has some very good synergies with AI, machine intelligence, and deep learning, which is pattern matching. So when you're getting educated in geology to be able to do structural interpretation of the topography and the downhole reservoir, it was actually an easy transition for me when I did cut over in the 90s, and I emphasize that because there is a lot of really symmetry. So yeah, that's correct. Your quote was correct. 40 plus software startups over 20 years in many fields, and it's on my LinkedIn profile for people that want to peruse further. But basically, on the front end of getting it, 3 years ago, I really kind of put the stake in the ground to say I'm going all in on AI, machine intelligence, because that's what I detected as far as what was really going to emerge in a big way. And sure enough, what we're seeing today with articles from every big name tech CEO that this is the year of artificial intelligence. And actually, one of my quotes, I'm preparing for another presentation, is tech CEOs looking to be the smartest kid in the room, because that's essentially what it is that, without naming, all the big company, CEOs really are very involved, starting with IBM Watson when it actually stood up its separate business unit in January 2014 with a tremendous marketing war chest. And credit to them, because they really, I actually, did a little bit of writing off that marketing, promotion to help. They're using cognitive computing as their mantra, and I'll explain the differences. Basically, they think they own the hashtag on Twitter, and I say this a lot to people at conferences and meetings, and it's true. You get pretty much IBM, a healthy dose of IBM Watson on the hashtag cognitive computing. But the AI was really kind of too amorphous for a lot of folks. So rather than calling it just machine learning, which again is more of a geeky hashtag on the cognitive computing hashtag, I kind of like machine intelligence, because the simple definition of it, and a credit to Siobhan Zillis at Bloomberg Beta, who really kind of put this landscape on the map. If you go to her website, Siobhan Zillis, you'll see that. But essentially, the simple definition of machine intelligence is AI plus machine learning, and it's very analogous to cognitive computing.
Okay, AI, I'm going to put this down in the notes here. AI plus machine learning equals machine intelligence.
Correct.
Okay. And can you elaborate on what machine intelligence means for the layperson who might listen or watch the replay? What does machine intelligence really tell us? And I understand now that this information is not really for the layperson. That's why I'm taking some time to do some reading of my own, because I realize how much there is to learn in the area.
So for the folks that are on, I'll put this since we're in the message tab. They can go to. This is a recent presentation that I did at the Chief Data Officer Conference about 2 months ago. AI is about to go mainstream and reshape the organization's workplace and your organization's data strategy. Essentially, what it is you take web content, social, media, Twitter, Facebook, etc., Internet of Things, other type enterprise content in your knowledge bases, and you ingest it and you're creating this semantic graph or knowledge graph, like the Google knowledge graph, for instance. Mm-hmm. But it's merely an enterprise version of it. There is, or a combination of a web and enterprise. And then what you do is, rather than just having humans label the data, if it's unlabeled, or if it's unstructured data, you're actually using machine learning in reasoning, okay, to be able to harmonize this to where it starts to make connections between the people, places, things, events, concepts. So it gives us this sense-making genre to where this smart data can now feed applications, and they're more intelligent applications where now the knowledge workers can predict, discover things, have faster insights, generate, faster, more informed decision making. This is what's going on right now in the frenzy of machine learning, machine intelligence.
Okay. And you distinguish between big data, which is kind of what you just described, and now you're trying to get rid of this, or the idea is to get rid of big data and make that smart data. Is that something?
That's correct. Spot on. Yeah, because big data really, is big data still a thing? Well, not really anymore, because smart data and AI, cognitive computing, machine intelligence is really starting, to be interleaved in it, to where anytime you can actually take disparate, web and enterprise and then harmonize it, you have better chance of making better predictions, making actionable information to drive smarter decisions. This is what, all the frenzy going on right now, the breeding frenzy going on right now for AI startups, and you're seeing every big company out there with the likely suspects, Google, Microsoft, we saw Twitter, acquired Magic Pony. And the metrics on that out of the UK.
Yeah, I heard about that just a few minutes.
Basically, you're talking, they roughly paid $13 million for a machine learning data scientist.
Okay.
That's huge money. So you can just see that. I like to say that, in Salesforce about, 6 weeks ago acquired MetaMind. Because the established players are getting a bit threatened by upstarts who are not carrying, like in IBM's case, as much as hats off to IBM, when you're still carrying 350,000 people,
mm-hmm.
Your cost performance vis-a-vis other, and maybe not just startups, but established players that are not, that are doing, tens of millions in revenue, is this is what they're starting to feel right now. And so the competition is just intense as heck.
Right, right. Interesting. So the more actionable data that they can work with, the better decisions and the more accurate decisions they can make for the enterprise going forward. Is that smart data?
That is it. That is it. And that's really the clarion call across, startup players right up to the big established players. And there's a lot of similarities, in terms of the machine learning. And there's a lot of great open source. And you're seeing all the big companies like Google with TensorFlow and Baidu, both in, machine learning engines, speech engines. So what this has really forced the big players to do is kind of like, take some of and you never saw this in other fields before. They kept them kind of proprietary. But right now, the big players are being pushed so hard by clever, very capable startups, that's the ones I focus on. And it's making the game very, very interesting. In terms of, go to market. And that's why this feeding frenzy is going on. And when you're looking at some of the metrics, is, the AI market is estimated to reach $40 billion by 2022. And
it's where it's like at 11 billion or something right now.
Yeah, I think it's close. Yeah, $10 to $11 billion right now.
Okay.
And I love the quote by Kevin Kelly, from editor of Wired magazines.
Mm-hmm.
The business plans of the next 10,000 startups are easy to forecast. Take X and add AI.
That is a great quote. I mean, because I've heard it even from my kind of, I'm not the only way I'm involved in robotics and AI and machine learning is strictly through this show that I'm call it video podcast. Hopefully it'll also be a podcast soon enough. And this is my interaction here, but I've been in legal tech, so I've tried to concentrate on tech, but in specific niches. And you hear Elon Musk, you've got Gates, you've got Zuckerberg. These guys are all talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Now, not hearing them a lot with the machine intelligence statements yet, but they're all talking generally about artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's machine intelligence is starting to be more of an accurate.
But they are talking artificial intelligence.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's sort of like the easy lowest hanging fruit. If you just say AI,
you're a little ahead of the time.
You're one of the cool kids, and you're rad. And this is this is what's going on right now. But the other thing about why machine intelligence is. And I point to this. Another key driving factor, Nick, regarding machine intelligence is that the future of the internet is flow. So when you have more and more data in streams and feeds that are now increasingly dominating the way people. I mean, to your point on video. I mean, that's why, and it's really coming on right now. But really, as a communication channel, you're going to have video to become more, a higher and higher percentage of communication. So this is how people are consuming information, and that's why flow, or sometimes it's called stream intelligence, is the top priority for chief analytics officers.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Flow or stream intelligence.
Stream intelligence. Yeah.
So let's have a little fun with another portion of your slide share that we've posted in the notes here. Ray Kurzweil, a Kurzweil quote was, he believes that the singularity is near. We know that from his 2005 book, but he says that computers will match or beat human intelligence with emotions and sense of humor. What is he meaning by that? And what can we as people expect to see with that?
Right. So right now, let's talk about uh, chatbots, which is another red hot area, right?
Yep, hot topic.
Exactly. So chatbots are coming on like gangbusters, and so in addition to AI coming on mainstream and reshaping the workplace, in marketing and sales and business intelligence, general productivity tools. For customer service, you're seeing more and more, chatbots being the top consumer application for AI over the next 5 years. In fact, there's some recent studies that point to virtual agents chatbots that could, be like 37% of, and you're starting to see, it's moving from just task-based efforts like X.AI or the schedule meetings, which is good if you're doing a lot of meetings, into ordering pizza, buying. So it's going from just task-based stuff into more sophisticated conversational. And this is the tie back to your question regarding Kurzweil and emotions. First of all, you can't have intelligence without emotions. So that's why the emotional intelligence is such a key ingredient. So as you move to more lifelike avatars, I mean, there was actually, I don't know, did you read about it was Georgia Tech, where the teaching assistant that was, I forget what it was actually Jill Watson, was not a human.
No.
So this was like a month ago that, was, yeah. So basically, imagine discovering that your teaching assistant really is a robot. And here's the link to it. I'll put in the window. And this was an example of the and these are college kids that are pretty savvy, right?
Right.
And they, most of them were fooled that it was actually a robot. It was Jill Watson. So add to that. Let's bump it up to the next level, to where you're creating lifelike humans that actually can emote, and there's work like this video here. So there's work where this is at a University of Auckland, and you'll see there in that link there, you'll see this freaky baby could be the future of computer learning.
Okay.
But what it is it actually has emotional intelligence, and the modeling and the sophistication is just very similar to what you would see on Hollywood films. In fact, the guy behind it, Mark Sagar, he actually was the special effects supervisor for King Kong and Spider-Man, and he learned all these techniques, and he's created he using neuroanatomy and physics, he's actually done the modeling to create these lifelike agents, and now they're coupling up. He interoperates with IBM Watson, and there'll be other engines as well. So you're going to see, going forward, more instantiations of lifelike customer, agents, for example, that have tremendous amount of intelligence, can actually, carry on, tens and maybe hundreds of simultaneous conversations. So basically, for level 1, level 2, and maybe even beyond that, as these engines become more sophisticated, this is going to be more of the trend going forward, to where machine intelligence will, allow more of us to work at higher levels, which is always, a holy grail, right?
I love this when I have because in my day job. Are you getting the back feedback from me?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. Yeah, I love this because in my day job, I still have to deal with customers, and wouldn't I love to have something that takes care of most of the customer concerns before it has to get to me? And wouldn't my employees love this?
Exactly. So there also is upsides of automating part of your job. So basically, no one likes to do routine procedural work, right? Unless you have to. I mean, there are, but in fields like in manufacturing, replacing workers. I know it's a double-edged sword here, but three of the world's top largest employers are now replacing workers with robots, and these are big numbers that they're talking about. But what I'm saying is that there's also upsides. Is that if AI can do more of the routine, non-creative work that humans are doing, this allows us to do more non-routine, cognitive type of work, and then also create new jobs along the way. I mean, we've gone through a number of cycles, like the Industrial Revolution, right, where there was a lot of people panicking. And so we're now seeing machine, intelligence really be the vanguard of addressing this, and that's why the robotics AI market is combined market is projected to be about 150 billion by 2020 and improve productivity by 30%. So there's a lot of benefits, on this, but the issue is that for knowledge workers, the issue is really not just a replacement. I mean, sure, if you're doing routine manual or routine cognitive, yes, you have a high probability of being replaced. However, if you're doing non-routine cognitive, think of it as augmented intelligence, and that's a key phrase. Is that so companies are now using algorithms to redesign their business processes, and alluding to the Peter Drucker, the guru of management, right? Alluding to his thinking, effectiveness should be a human pursuit, but efficiency should be delegated to machines.
Yeah. And for myself, I would love this. I know there are employees out there who are not going to be fond of this idea because they are doing what you referred to, if I understood it correctly, routine manual or routine cognitive jobs, where it's routine and could easily be replaced by a machine.
That's true. So that's why I said it's a double-edged sword of sorts. But that's where the trend lines are going right now, and why the huge amounts of investments on behalf of not just the established players, but startups are just jumping into this. And that's the beauty of it, actually. So I focus mostly on startups, and I will tell you that the road doesn't have to go through Silicon Valley by any means in this arena of AI. I'm in contact with across the world, and there are some really, if you just pick, pretty much any fairly technically astute or well-educated country, and the game is on right now. I mean, not just the likely suspects in China and India, Russia, but a lot of Estonia basically with Skype put them on the map for a small country, and those guys in Estonia and Norway now is, some of the smaller countries have an advantage over the USA. They don't have the infrastructure like us in startups, but they are making the investments, and you're starting to really see a across the board, talent, and it isn't just from the likely suspects. Remember, the established players, of course, want to hold the line. But in this arena, which is why it's so exciting, you can get, outflanked, outquicked pretty quickly. And that's why you're seeing huge numbers like what, Twitter dropped on this acquisition for Magic Pony. I'll tell you this, when Salesforce acquired MetaMind for 32 million, 31 million was goodwill. What does that tell you?
Yeah. They want them.
Yep. Yep.
Great. I am going to. Okay, so one of my friends who has just joined us, Malia, is active in virtual reality and augmented reality, and saw recently on one of the Snapchat stories that she works on, them talking about Magic Pony. So it was timely that you had mentioned it as well, and I wanted to get into part of what your slide share, and for those who have just joined us, I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the slide share one more time here. Pretty cool stuff on machine intelligence here, and I wanted to get to, I forget the exact page of this, maybe you recall it on the slide or the exact slide, but you talk about Watson, I think, it's page 28. I did write that down. Page 28 or slide 28 of the slide share. You've got some really interesting information on Watson's APIs. And the Watson that we saw in 2011 on Jeopardy had one API. Currently, there's 28 APIs. And by the end of 2016, Watson's supposed to have upwards of 50. Tell us what exactly this means for Watson.
Right. So it's really part of the mantra of, Ginni Rometty reinventing itself to be a cognitive computing company based on a cloud platform. I mean, it's bold. Kudos in terms of that effort. And this whole roadmap of adding, going from the single API to 50 Watson APIs. And you can see what they're really teasing in. I won't mention all of them, but it is slide 28. But it's things like, you're seeing the new ones be the knowledge graph. Remember, I explained that upstream regarding how you take big data, you transform it into a semantic or knowledge graph. But then you're adding things like emotion analysis. Remember, we talked about emotion. So big players as well as clever startups that are focusing on smaller parts of this, but can even do it better. The question I have is, even though it's very impressive in terms of the APIs are not a panacea. You still need a holistic offering, right? And if there are certain components, right, that are more sophisticated, like an emotion analysis, and I'll tell you this, there are more sophisticated emotion analysis than what IBM is currently carrying. Okay. This is and this is really the issue out there, is that, and this is not meant to, sound elitist or pedantic, is that there's not enough really super sharp, chief data officers at Global 2000 companies with that can keep on top of this. Or with an open mind, because remember, I mostly deal with startups. So if you can make the case that your startup has a better offering than one of the established players, and they don't want to go through a systems integrator, like Accenture, Deloitte, or something like that, which is the other issue. How do you know that they're carrying the best? At the end of the day, these bigger companies are mostly selling professional services. Okay. Let's slice right through this. At the end of the day, they're selling professional services. 80% professional services, 20% software. Or it's flipped. If you have a somewhat of a holistic offering, you're selling 80% software and basically very minimal. And that's the way it should be, because remember, the definition of machine intelligence is that it understands and then learns and becomes smarter. So you shouldn't have as much maintenance as you do with traditional, database, business intelligence software, where you have, where again, you have those updates because you don't have it built in to where it becomes, it learns and understands, becomes smarter over time.
And will it be? And it'll be updating itself, correct?
Correct. Yes, because that's where the switch going on right now. It's not quite there yet, but essentially, today most of the machine intelligence is supervised learning, where the training instances are labeled using reinforcement. So depending, there's different methods and different algorithms. For images, it's really pretty, and for speech, the accuracy is like 98, 99%. Mm-hmm. The problem is text content, multimodal content. That's where it's going. But the future clearly is unsupervised learning, where the machines can infer what they don't know and are given no positive or negative reinforcement. And this is where you can really build intelligent systems. Okay, this is where the big upside, and this is where the big players and some clever startups are really kind of gearing up for this notion of moving to artificial general intelligence, or AGI. It's not quite there, but it's starting to be teased in, and that's why you're starting to see more and more people talking about common sense reasoning, which humans do with facility, right?
Right.
So, and that's why there's a lot of effort going on with causal AI. So it's pretty much, we pretty much know how to do the who, what, why, where, and how. The hardest one to crack right now is the why. Why? That's the hard one.
Yeah. Well, and I would say that humans don't have that down all too well either.
Indeed.
You gave humans a great. You said humans have the common sense down really well. I'm not sure that's entirely accurate.
That's true. There's a small subset that may, but most people are right. Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. I want to. We got to have fun with this, at least. Tell me what we can expect to see, Steve, in the next 5 and 10 years in the machine intelligence arena.
Okay, so in the next, and I'll give you some quotes from analyst groups. Forrester says 16% of American jobs will be replaced by AI by the end of the decade. Gardner, by 2020, 85% of customer interactions will be managed without a human. 80% of executives currently believe AI improves worker performance and creates jobs. By 2020, smart agents will manage 40% of the mobile interactions. Let's see. There was one other one I had in here. Oh, yeah. 87% of managers say they would trust the advice of intelligent systems in making. So this is why machines will emerge as top collaborators. It's actually a very interesting metric here. And it has validity because the problem is and this was a Harvard Business Review article about collaborative overload. A stunning stat is that only 20 to 35% of value-added collaborations come only from 3 to 5% employees. So that begs the question. These are the go-to employees. They're doing most of the value add. I hope they're either, if they're not rewarded or compensated smartly, it begs the question on what is the majority of the knowledge workers at these global companies, global 2000 companies doing? It really begs the question, right?
Right.
They're getting, how valuable are they? And that's really what we're seeing in this transformation. Right. Is that it begs the question, when IBM is still carrying 350, do they really need 350,000, employees? I doubt it.
Right. And if 85% of customer interactions are going to be replaced by non-humans by 2020. I mean, that's going to be a significant cut in the 350,000 person workforce, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
You know, Steve, one of the quotes that you had, and you just mentioned it, and I'm glad you did, is about the executives thinking that machines improve workers. And I feel like, as an executive, even at a small company, I feel like that is a really self-serving statistic for bringing down labor costs. Maybe I am being too skeptical from these executives, but I felt like,
well, let's put it on the flip side.
Okay,
People who make over 350,000 are about to get replaced by software as well.
Yeah.
So
that, yeah, myself or other executives.
Between 33% and 50% of finance employees will lose their job to automation software. So it's even the Goldman Sachs. So this is going to impact. I mean, right? It's going to impact more what I said earlier, Nick, which was the routine cognitive. But as the sophistication becomes better and smarter, and it can do more of this, causal reasoning, it's going to really start. In fact, there are some companies that have like an AI in the boardroom. I mean, I think it's a Singapore company. So you're starting to see more instantiations of your next boss could run on code.
Right. Some people would say theirs already do.
That's right.
This is, but it is phenomenal. I read a statistic and I don't recall the source. Malia even mentioned, you've been great at giving us all the sources. I don't recall this source. I want to say it was Wall Street Journal, but it said it was similar to what you were talking about, how many jobs will be replaced. And I think by 2025 or something, they said 60 some odd percent would be replaced in the US, but 80% of US workers didn't think it would be their job.
Of course.
And I thought, wow,
of course.
I don't want to be the person who believes that I can't be replaced.
Right. It's like the NIMBY, right? NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Right, exactly. Not in my backyard, but I do not want to be. And when I think probably around the time I read that, I thought to myself, I need to start learning more about this stuff. And I better start a video podcast on it.
Exactly.
So tell me, Steve, we're at about 40 minutes, and this is where I really like to sum it up with the hard-hitting, give us your top 3 robotics and artificial intelligence movies. Really hard-hitting stuff at the end here.
Okay. So I guess we have to go with Ex Machina, maybe at the top.
Seems to be across the board.
Yeah, everybody, because it really rolls into basically the work that Mark Sagar's doing is like her with a face. So that's why I put Ex Machina on, because it actually incorporates AI, robotics, lifelike, emotional. I mean, it has all the right trappings. And that's why it's across the board number 1.
All right, and it seems to be with previous guests as well.
Yeah.
That one is. How about do you have any 2 others for us?
It really falls off so much.
It's pretty hard to find.
I will leave you with this though about the rise in AI in business.
Okay.
Is for a number of years, Mark Andreessen has right on their website, right? Software is eating the world. And my contention is that needs to be updated with AI, machine intelligence is eating the world faster.
I like that. And what could you point us to any documentaries that may inform us? Are there any good documentaries on this subject right now?
Wow.
That you might be aware of. Maybe you're not.
I'm not. But I wouldn't, I would just, say stay tuned, because there is so much happening right now that somebody clever will put together like an Ex Machina documentary where it's more educational in terms of what, how AGI, is really cutting. I mean, that's what it is. It's literally cutting through the global economy like a hot knife through butter. That's how fast it's moving.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, you see it if you're on Twitter. Like I've got Twitter open all day, every day, and if you follow a couple of news organizations and then a couple of robotics folks like I do, it is nonstop. New posts every day, more than one. So anyway, that really finishes us up for the night. Steve, you have been a great guest. Thank you. Always nice to have somebody who really loves what they're doing, and I appreciate it. Tell the listeners where they can find you, and if somebody wanted to get in touch with you.
Sure. So you can find me on LinkedIn. My Twitter handle is at Sardire, Sardire.
Ardire, and I'm going to post your LinkedIn here. And great. And then we will close it up with Steve. Thank you for being here. I'm your host, Nick Rishwain. This has been episode 4 of Robotics Live. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you, Nick. Cheers.